Hello and welcome. It's Thursday again. Just come round quick. And forgive me, I have the privilege of hosting today, but I have just had a bit of a technical nightmare. So it caused chaos for these poor ladies by disappearing off with seconds to go. So thank you all for bearing with me. And we are delighted to be joined today by the fabulous Emily Fawell. And I can't wait for you to be able to share all your amazing insight and help us all on our journey. And we have been chatting briefly before we got here, haven't we, about how we need to be just a bit kinder to ourselves in some of the language that we use, of which all three of us were very, very bad at. So we seriously need to have a bit of a chat. But before we get started, I'm going to ask the other lovelies how the week's been going for them. So Caroline, my love, can I start with you, please?
Yes, thank you, Kim. Welcome, Emily. I just can't believe how quickly the weeks fly by, and it's like I'm sort of chasing my tail all the time with this to-do list and endless. And it's like I think life is coming back in a big way, which is great. And the roads are busy, the restaurants are busy, and I suppose that's basically it. Previously, we were sitting around a lot, weren't we, for about over a year, and now real life has kicked in, and I'm hearing that people are saying, "Gee, where's my day going, and where's the weeks going?" And here we are, June already, and we were saying just before we went live, the hot weather. Suddenly, you realise what you have been doing is sitting around a lot and eating a lot, and this is showing up for us in other ways too. But yeah, I would say my week has been pretty chaotic, but I'm getting there. But I don't even know why it's so chaotic, because I'm quite an organized person usually. That's me.
I know what you mean. My to-do list seems to be the only thing I actually do at the minute is write on it rather than tick anything off, just like keep adding. It's like that's really very helpful. I'm not sure that I can say it's a productive week if actually I've tripled the size of it rather than reduce anything. But maybe they've still got Friday. I've still got a chance. Sam, my lovely, how about you?
Yeah, I think it's interesting talking about tripling the size of it. I know I've certainly tripled in size in certain regions of my body. So I'm really interested to hear some great tips that Emily's going to share with us later. But maybe the reason for feeling a little bit chaotic and busy is because you're right, Caroline, the world has opened up, hasn't it? And all of a sudden we've got a lot more to squeeze into our day. And I know that I've shared before, just the inconvenience of having to do the school run at 9 a.m., which is my role. I was used to not having that for so long. Starting school, just slide in their pajamas in front of the laptop. But now I physically have to do that. And it's just something else, isn't it, to squeeze in. And now we can have coffee with clients or friends, lunch, and I'm actually off to a lunch after this. It's something else just that we're squeezing in, which is lovely, but it's just maybe we're getting used to those things again. But yeah, it's interesting. It's busy. You're right. It's been a busy week, and I've got a brand new group starting tomorrow, which I'm really excited about. So that's taken most of my focus for this week. But yeah, it's busy. It's good. It feels energetic. I'm really, really excited about the next chapter. I did a little poll actually yesterday with a peer group I was running. 50% of them felt that the world will open up again on the 21st, and 50% said absolutely categorically that is not going to happen, which I found was really interesting, that 50-50 split. Where are you ladies sitting on that? Are we opening up on the 21st, or do you think we're going to be delayed in that?
As more hope than no, but I hope we are, and I hope that masks become optional, maybe not on public transport, but if you want to go shopping around a department store pretty soon, and this hot weather, it makes it very uncomfortable, and we've got to get the economy up and running again. And if you want to wear a mask, wear one, and if you don't, that's fine too. And that's my main thing. It's the blooming masks.
They are really uncomfortable, aren't they? And it's you're right. Now it is warmer. I've done a couple of trips to London, and obviously on public transport you do want to wear them, but by the time you get there you're just so desperate to take them off because it's so hot and so uncomfortable. But I know we also need to keep each other safe. But I agree. I think it's I think we do need to start to see it unfold and unlock, and it has been nice to be able to actually go and see people, you know, and actually connect again. I think I've not realized how much I really missed it until you actually start to do it again. I knew I missed it, but it all becomes so much more real, doesn't it? When you're like, oh, I'm allowed to actually hug my parents, which has been long overdue and was a joy to be able to do at the weekend. So I'm feeling very blessed. Emily, lovely, it is such a delight to have you with us. I've heard nothing but amazing things about you and the work that you do, and we are really looking forward to hearing your advice and your tips around how we actually deal with ourselves and how we look after ourselves better, how we can be more supportive. We talked last week about self-care and self-love, and this is a real huge part, isn't it, of what you do in helping people to really connect with doing the right things for themselves. So could you share a little bit, please, about you and your journey?
My journey is quite a long journey, but I started off my career working for drinks companies, where I was in promotions and encouraging people to drink as much as possible. And I've gone full circle, and now I'm often encouraging people to drink as little as possible. But I was diagnosed with endometriosis in my 20s, which, if you don't know, is a very painful condition that affects women. And I went down the conventional medical route, as you do if you don't have any other advice. And after the treatment that I was given, I ended up I put on 2 stone in about 6 months. I developed IBS. And when I stopped the treatment, the pain I was experiencing was just as bad as it had been. So it hadn't worked for me at all, but it left me in a worse place than where I'd started off. And just by chance, my mum read an article about a woman who'd written a book about endometriosis, and she was a nutritional therapist. So I read the book cover to cover. I went to see her, and she just transformed my health. So within about 3 months of seeing her, I no longer had any pain. And about 3 months after that, I'd been told I wouldn't be able to have children. But we tried, and I conceived the first month. So just amazing, the difference that it made to my life. And I became really passionate about nutrition and was reading about it all the time and changing aspects of my diet and people around me. And then I thought maybe I could retrain and do this. And again, things just happen sometimes, don't they, that are perfectly coordinated. So after my second son was born, I took redundancy because it was offered to me. And then I started the 4-year course, and it just worked out perfectly. By the time he went into reception, I was fully qualified and set my practice up. And that's about the time I met Carol Ann, I think. It was 2009 when we first met. And since then, I've run my practice. I've got lots of other things that I do, as well as seeing individual clients. I have a corporate facing business with a business partner, and we go into companies, or we did go into companies, and run seminars and webinars on all aspects of health, which I love. Yes, and I also work at a local university supervising nutritional therapy students. So it's quite a broad and varied career, but that's what I love. I love the variety of different days meaning different things. So yeah.
Well, it must be nice to be able to see it come to life in all those different walks of life and see how it impacts people.
Yeah. And I think that's the difference, isn't it? One-to-one work is great, but it's intense. And then if you one-to-many, you're getting your message across to so many more people at once and inspiring more people. And then the university work, it's lovely to work with students and encourage them and improve their consultation skills. So yeah.
Oh, I love it.
What's the, when you go into I'm assuming more sort of corporate and larger businesses, what are you finding is the most common thing that you're being asked questions about? Is it generally around sort of stress or anxiety or weight gain? What is the thing that's most popular in larger organizations?
Yeah, that's quite interesting. It often depends on the demographic of the company. So a lot of companies we work with are quite young and forward thinking. So our most popular webinar or seminar is around energy. So how to have great energy throughout the day so that they're more productive. What's interesting is most corporates don't want to talk about weight loss because they don't want to get involved in the whole body shaming thing. So there's not much call for that. And then the more we work with a client, the broader the offer. So we've got a client that we've been working with since, I think, October, all online. It's a law firm. And next week we're doing women's health one day, men's health the next. And then I'm giving a talk on the menopause the week after. So we've kind of done the broad stuff, and now we're kind of drilling down into more specific stuff for individual groups in the company.
Do you know what astonishes me, Emily? There's so many programs about food, nutrition. We've got celebrity chefs now, like we never had before. And yet we're all eating the wrong stuff. And people still aren't cooking from scratch. And I don't think there's any awareness still of the effect that diet has on our health. How do you start to address that sort of thing with clients?
Yeah, it is really challenging, isn't it? You know, there's this new phrase, ultra processed foods. They were just processed before, but now people are realizing there's nothing nutritious in a lot of the things that are on the supermarket shelves. And it is a big battle because some people just don't cook. I mean, I had a new client this week, and he's coming to me and he says openly, I don't know how to eat well. And his diet was terrible. He said, I don't eat vegetables. And he was 30, hasn't eaten a vegetable since he was 12. And it's really sad. You kind of think people are there's so little, it's like there's this huge dichotomy between people who are interested in food and watch cookery programs and are really interested in recipes and experiencing new flavors. And then you've got another sector of society who are trying to survive, and their only source of information is what's on the supermarket shelves. So it is really difficult, and it's quite a big educational piece, especially I think with younger people, to just get them to understand the long-term implications of avoiding vegetables in particular. So, yeah.
Are you finding, though, that the millennials are far more in tune with this? Because, you know, I know that the whole sort of Love Island phenomenon has given youngsters, you know, the want now to achieve the ultimate body, but also to do that with health and fitness. And I know, you know, my son, who's nearly 17, he's far more in tune with nutrition and what's good and what's not good, and you know, almost like sort of sometimes directs the menus for the house because he wants to eat well. Are you finding it in the workplace?
It's not that obvious. There's always like a cohort in the audience who are super informed, or they think they are. We've just launched a new talk called Nutrition Myths Busted, because the same questions come up with every webinar we do, and a lot of it's misinformation that has been kind of peddled by food companies. So that's really great for us to be able to go in and say, right, you know, we know you're all wondering about, you know, does fat make me fat? Should I restrict how many eggs I'm having? Are vegans the healthiest people walking the planet? It's all of these kind of messages that we're sent. And pick up. So it is interesting. But I do think, there's definitely a section of younger people who are interested in their health. The problem is there's lots of quick fixes that are available for all of us that don't necessarily work in the long term.
Sorry, I think that can be part of the challenge though, can't it? Is that or maybe this is just me, so maybe I shouldn't say this is part of the challenge. It might just be me. But you let it build for a period, and then all of a sudden, when you do notice it, when you do go, okay, you know, these jeans are a little tighter than they should do, or that top really isn't very flattering anymore, I immediately want to lose what I've been allowing myself to build up over 6 months in about 6 minutes, if at all possible. You know, so get it off me by Saturday, that'd be amazing. And yet that just gets us into a spiral, doesn't it? A cycle that we kind of can't get out of. What are ways that we can better address that, maybe?
I think it's like I listened to your broadcast from last week. It is all about that. It's about self-love and self-care. And if you have gained weight over the last year, you're not going to lose it in a week. And if you do lose it in a week, it will come back the next week. And there are real, quite serious consequences to yo-yo dieting, because your thyroid gland controls your metabolism. And if it's starved of food, it just slows down. And then it becomes even harder to shift the weight. So you want to avoid starvation mode as much as possible. And, the diets that I advise my clients to follow are about eating, and eating regularly, so that your body feels free and it can let go, rather than it's, oh my God, I've only had 200 calories today. Your thyroid will respond to that and think, right, I am not burning any energy because I don't know when you're going to feed me next. So it's about, nourishing the body, and resolving any kind of underlying nutrient deficiencies or, systemic problems that you may not be aware of. So it's a kind of for me, it's a holistic approach. It's looking at the whole of you, including your lifestyle and the pressures of your work and how much time you've got.
Well, I can vouch for Emily's. I don't even think it's a diet. It's a way of eating that is absolutely delicious. And I was just making all the wrong errors. So I've lost weight with Emily's plan, and it's designed just for me. But I did do a blood test that revealed certain deficiencies, vitamins, and also minor health problems that I've had have cleared up because I'm eating properly, and delicious food, luxurious food, delightful things, rather than just going into the old habits. So I don't feel at all deprived, which is part of dieting, which makes us so miserable. Yeah. And I said I addressed the gin and tonic wine situation, and Emily said, try vodka. Now you see, this is the kind of dietitian that we want. It wasn't, don't have that, that's really bad for you. It's like, well, vodka's lower, have some soda water with it. Thank you, and we don't want punitive measures because you're not going to stick with it.
Exactly. They don't work, do they? Because you, like you say, you start feeling deprived, you get into that downward spiral. And then what's the easiest way to make yourself feel good? Having something with sugar in it or some alcohol. And then you're back to where you were. So it's the worst thing you can do is get into that state of deprivation.
I think that also, Emily, you're right in terms, what you just said about fueling your body, but fueling it with the right things, as opposed to the fad, which I've fallen into the trap of, recently and many, many, many times of, fasting or keto, low carb, low fat, not this, eggs only, slim fast shakes, and all of them. I'm sure we've all tried all of those things, and they all have an effect, they all have an impact, and they're all successful in their own right, maybe, but we get sucked in, don't we? We get sucked into these fads. We get sucked into the marketing of them. And I certainly have. And what do you say against those?
I think anything that's promising you amazing results in a short amount of time should be questioned. The plan that I recommend is low carb, and low carb is the right way, but it's about making sure it's healthy. So you're cutting out the refined carbohydrates, which give us those spikes, and it's the crashes that we need to avoid, because that's when you crave something that's going to give you a quick fix of glucose. So it's all about blood sugar balance, and keeping your blood sugars stable so that you don't dip into the cravings. And that's when you're battling with your brain, and you don't need to go there if you can keep your blood sugar stable. So there are lots, like you said, there's lots of different approaches to weight loss, but I would work with an individual and work out what would work for them. So, there are great benefits with time restricted eating. So, trying to have a 12-hour gap between dinner and breakfast, or 13 hours, but you don't need to go more than 14 hours. And that's the other thing. People are going for 18 hours without food and then wondering why. And then also being told they can eat whatever they like in the gap, which can't be good for your body. So it's about just being a bit, I guess, a bit kind and thinking, oh, there's a question come in, kind and thinking about what's best for your body and your lifestyle, and what's going to work for you. Do I answer that question?
Yeah,
yes, sorry, I was just about to ask it, but so Nick's asking what the current thinking is on consuming normal milk, and there's so many milks, isn't there, these days?
Yes.
I can't keep up, to be fair.
My view on that, I mean, it's quite controversial, milk, because obviously it's made by cows for baby cows, not for humans. But we've adapted in the West, and most people can tolerate cow's milk. If you don't drink it. You know, if you've got lactose intolerance and the symptoms that come with that, then it's not good for you. The plant-based milks are great. I would just always read the label. Often they're quite unpalatable, so they pile loads of sugar in. So if you're drinking sweetened almond milk, that's not going to be great for you if you're trying to lose weight or you've got a problem with blood sugar balance. So always read the label. And you know, in terms of milk as well, there's full fat milk is the best type of milk to drink, but most people have gone off that because of the kind of texture. I don't think I could drink full fat milk. Semi-skimmed is fine, but I wouldn't bother with skimmed. It's got higher carbs, less fat, and we do need some saturated fat in our diet. So, yeah.
Can I ask, Emily, I read an interesting statistic. I'm nervous to quote it because I can't remember the exact percentage, but I think it was a good, healthy, balanced, nutritious lunch improves our productivity and energy by 60% in the afternoons. Does that sound about right? And what would you recommend?
Some of these stats, how would you prove that? I mean, it's really important that what you're saying is really important, though. It's really important to have a good balanced lunch. And by balanced, I mean a good amount of protein, some slow releasing carbohydrates, some vegetables and some fat. And that will keep you going for longer and keep your blood sugar stable. And if you just had, I don't know, a pasta salad for lunch with no protein in it, your slump in the afternoon would be terrible. Or if you could try to keep going as well, you know, some people are too busy for lunch. Well, they're not going to be very productive in the afternoon because, you know, your brain uses a lot of energy to function. I think we always think it's about physicality, but mentally we use up a lot of energy as well.
So it's lunchtime now. Many people are about to have a lunch. Well, give us a really quick, you know, couple of plates or menus that you would say these are perfect for working mums, men, dads, you know, perfect for giving us energy boost for the afternoon.
So a great lunch would be 2 scrambled eggs on 1 slice of wholemeal bread with some smoked salmon if you've got it in, or some cooked mushrooms or tomatoes. That would be a quick lunch. I'm a big fan of oily fish, so you could buy pre-cooked salmon fillets or mackerel fillets and have a really nice salad with that. Wraps are always better than sandwiches because the carb content is less. If you need a bit of energy, rye bread's great. You can have quite a lot of that. You could spread that with hummus and have a really nice salad. I'm obsessed with salads at the moment because it's hot. If it was cooler, then soups are great, but make sure there's protein in them. So, you know, whether it's bean, lentil-based soups or chicken soup. So, yeah, I think the principle is protein, slow-releasing carbs and vegetables, and some fat. So fat keeps us fuller for longer like protein does. So we're still living in quite a fat-phobic society, but it's really good to use fat quite liberally. And by fat, I mean things like olive oil, avocados, nuts and seeds.
So really lovely food, basically, really delicious food.
Yeah, sounds great. When can you come and deliver that, Emily?
Yeah, we want a delivery service from Emily. I used to be hooked on salty snacks, crisps and peanuts. But Emily said have olives instead. So sometimes if I'm feeling snackish, instead of going for the peanuts, I'll go and have a few olives. That does me during the day as well, you know, if I needed a little snack. So that's good for me. But it's not about deprivation. It's finding something delicious and alternative that would, as you said earlier, nourishing the body. Not putting it under stress, really.
Yeah, and I think it's about thinking of it in terms of investment, you know, spend a bit of time thinking about what you're going to be eating today, and make sure you've got delicious snacks in your fridge. So at mid-afternoon, you can go in and get some hummus and oat cakes, or you can get a bowl full of olives, rather than, you know, opening your cupboards and the only thing in there is a packet of crisps. You know, it's about spending a bit of time making sure your cupboards are stocked or your fridge is stocked.
I love that. It's such great advice, because it's one of the things that I'm really bad at is when I'm thinking about cooking for my little girl, I'm really good at it. So yes. I really plan. But when she's at nursery and therefore I'm not the one in charge of cooking for her, I'm really bad at remembering to do anything for myself. So I'm ashamed to say I'm sat here now thinking I haven't actually eaten or drank anything other than a glass of water all day. And that is pretty normal. That's pretty normal for me. Whereas I have made sure she had a breakfast before she went to nursery. But it's, what can we do differently to make sure that we take as good a care of ourselves as we do of the people that we're responsible for?
I think it's about prioritizing yourself, isn't it? It's the same principles as if you were helping someone with self-care. It is part of that, isn't it? It's thinking it's just as important for your little girl that you're well nourished, and see it in that context. You know, it's important for her that you have a long and healthy life so that you can look after her well. So you're just as important. It's like that whole life jacket on an airplane thing, isn't it? There's no point putting the life jacket on your child if you're not going to have it on yourself. So it is important. But I think we get so busy that we forget about the importance of food.
I think that's a good point, because we were saying, like, right at the onset of this show today, how busy we feel at the moment, how much we have to fit in. And I think, you know, my experience of trying to eat well, I'm not going to say the word dieting, is all about planning, you know, and you see that a lot, don't you? If we want to eat well, you have to have your fridge stocked with the right things. But what's your biggest tip for us really busy people that haven't planned well, that haven't got a really good stocked fridge and need to grab something on the go just as we're rushing out the door? What's the best thing we can grab if we haven't shopped well?
Oh, that's a challenge. What's the best thing? I guess all of it would involve some planning. That's the problem. So I think just making sure you've eaten something. Having nothing isn't going to help you. And when you get to the point where you can get something, your brain's going to drive you to choose the thing with the highest sugar, refined carb content. So something is better than nothing. But I think, just, you know, things that are great for breakfast there's now so many low sugar granolas on the market. And they are delicious, and they're full of nuts and seeds. That's a really quick breakfast, just having some granola, some full-fat yogurt, and a handful of berries. And you could be eating that whilst you're getting your kids ready for school, or whilst you're reading your emails. But it's making sure that you do have something. Otherwise, your productivity is going to crash.
Yeah, no, that is such amazing advice. And can you believe we're nearly out of half an hour already? That's just disappeared. And you've given us such great advice already on how to make sure that we're just taking better care of ourselves. To really, you know, if we think about all of us are obviously in business, and actually we are part of our most important asset, aren't we? If we're not healthy, if we're not fit, if we're not firing on all cylinders, we can't best serve our customers, our clients, and our business. So it is really important. If I could ask you to just share one last thing, if there were one top tip, what would it be to the people watching, please?
There's a caveat here. This doesn't apply if you have a nut allergy, but nuts are fantastic. And I think, again, we're still a bit nervous of them. We think they make us fat because they're high in fat, but nuts are your best friend. They're full of great fiber, minerals, vitamins, and amazing essential fats. So they're things we can't make ourselves. So I would say next time you go shopping, buy bags of nuts, have one in your handbag, have one in your desk drawer, make it part of what your family eats. You know, that's what you go for when you want a quick snack, because they're so nutritious and full of protein as well. So they will keep you full.
You've literally made my day, because I love nuts, and I now feel like I've got an excuse to go and raid the nut drawer. So thank you so much for that. And it's been such a delight to have you with us. Before we go, though, Caroline, have you got a final tip, please?
Oh, it's just always self-care, self-love. Have lunch. Kim, eat breakfast, eat lunch. All of us, stop for half an hour, get a lovely plate of gorgeous food. You owe it to yourself. That is my tip. It's a great investment in self-care, self-love.
I love that. And it is so true. And I promise I will. My lovely. Last tip from you?
I think, like everything else, and Emily's reinforced this, we have to take the time to plan ahead. You know, if we want to eat health, we're committed to all the great things in life. We've got to plan for them. You know, plan for exercise, plan for diet, plan for friends, plan for relationships, plan something for us. So yeah, get planning, guys.
Oh, I love that. Great advice. And I think it is just about making sure that we take care of ourselves, isn't it? And that we see that as an investment in the people that we care about, not just an act of selfishness, which I can sometimes be guilty of thinking. So it has been an absolute joy. If you would like to join us and be in Emily's seat, then please do get in touch at www.businessblondes.tv. And in the interim, stay safe, stay well, look after yourselves. See you next week.